Welcome to the Town of Smyrna Stormwater Advisory Committee for the meeting of July the 15th, 2019. We have a quorum, so we will proceed with business as scheduled. First on the order, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens that want to make a comment? Apparently not. We will proceed. I assume that we've all had an opportunity to review the minutes of last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Minutes for the last meeting of April 15th has been approved, and we'll proceed with the business at hand. Oh, thank you. Need to take a vote on approval of the minutes. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Minutes have been approved. And now we're ready to proceed with old business. There's none this month. That was easy. New business. Consent correction of agenda. Greg, do we have any for this month?
We do have one. The previous occupant was Hotspot Tanning at 307 West Sam Ridley Parkway. That's near Toots Restaurant. They've moved out, so the responsibility for the stormwater utility fee goes to the owner, who happens to be Ridley Crossing Shopping Center. That's all. That's the only one we had.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve this stormwater vacant list based on the staff recommendations.
I'll second it.
All approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So the vacant list has been approved. No adjustments on the applications for this month. No credit applications for this month. Next item on the agenda is the report of officers and committees and staff. Greg, you got the floor.
All righty. Well, we had no inquiries about the stormwater utility. So we'll move on to B, and that's the presentation of the quarterly report. And this quarter, of course, ran from April 1st through June 30th. We had 128 certificates of occupancy. Let's see, we reviewed at least 10 new construction projects for the grading plans. And we are up to a total thus far this year of 21 new permits. Remember, our record is 41 for the last 2 years. And we think we can break that, but we'll see. We've got 5.5 more months to go. Tom and I reviewed, comment, signed, and dated grading plans for at least 5 new construction projects. I did setup and control measure inspections prior to the pre-con meetings at 7 sites. And we had 7 pre-construction meetings and issued 7 construction project grading plans. And as you, permits, I should say, as you can see in that table below, that lists all 7 of those projects and what type of income they will bring in as far as stormwater utility. And you can see they're based on either square footage or units per subdivision. You also notice that 2 of those, 6 and 7, are Town of Smyrna road improvements. And the 5 is Britain property. They're merely grading and stabilizing. They have no impervious surface yet, so we cannot charge a fee. So actually of those 7, only 4 of those generated the monthly income you see at the bottom there, $1,540, an annual income of $18,482. Remember that you take the For projects other than residential that are less than 10,000 square feet of impervious surface, you take the square footage divided by 3543 square feet per ERU and multiply that by $3.47. That gives you the monthly total, and of course, to get the annual, multiply the monthly by 12. If we move on to page 2 of the quarterly report, you'll see that Dwayne and I worked on 3 illicit discharges. And then as you move down to section M, you'll see how much work, and Dwayne is, as normal, is very, very busy. Monthly construction inspections, 216. You can see the breakdown, an average of 72 per month. He also inspected 300 detention ponds and 107 grease receptacles, and he's working with Steve Smith with the Codes Department to get all this information into what we call City Works, which is a town-wide program, and it makes it a lot easier to track it. It's tracked electronically, and that's working out to be a program that a lot of the departments can interact on. He did 5 as-built submittals. Those are basically the presentation of all storm drains and pipes and whatnot that have been surveyed in to make certain that everything is in agreement with the original Planning Commission approved plans. And he did 98 individual construction inspections. And moving on down to our 12th annual Boat Day and 14th annual Waterfest, we actually had 321 participants, which is the 3rd highest, but we had bad weather. Remember, on Friday night, they were talking about linear winds hitting 840. I'm talking east 840. And I was surprised to see the Smyrna Fire Department tent still up when we arrived, but they were. We had to pull off all the boaters off the water once for about 25 minutes. And we were looking at our radar on our cell phones, trying to determine where the storm was, and you could see it off to the north. So we're trying to be as safe as we can. And of course, Dwayne played an integral part in that. I also like to thank Abhi Patra for being a loader, helping people in and out of boats. That means getting in the water and pushing that boat up against the bank, so he was wet the whole time. Doug Brown was a loader and a spotter for us. Thank you, Doug. And of course, Bree was active too, and she was what we call a floater. She was ubiquitous. She was everywhere, helping out as much as possible. And so was our summer intern, Ashley Barrera, who did a great job for us through the month of June. Moving on, we had 2 stream cleanups. 12 students from Stewart Creek High School interacted at the Stonecrest Medical Center and removed 23 bags of litter, and 21 Rutherford County young Marines and their parents removed 15 bags from the Greenway and the Fitzhugh area, as well as along Stewart Creek from 8th to 11th Avenues. Our good friends Vallejo, once again came out and did a quarterly cleanup. And our town of Smyrna folks did a cleanup as well, our quarterly cleanup. And let's see, Dwayne and I attended an illicit discharge workshop. And Catherine and Susan answered and handled 30 citizen inquiries about drainage issues. And I'd like to also announce that we are in a partnership with the Rutherford County, who are providing a bin for us for paper and cardboard. So they're picking that up every 3 weeks, and I'm still handling the glass, the plastic, and the metal in Town Hall. That concludes our quarterly report. Do you have any questions about that?
I have one.
Okay.
On the front page where you got your little chart here for
Yes.
fees charged,
Yeah.
is that for a property being developed now?
Yeah, these are the properties that were approved during this quarter.
Yeah, so they're either under construction or under the planning
Yeah,
stage?
they're all under construction, but this is probable revenue
Yeah,
for
so
the town.
they're not getting charged for a fee until
there's a certain stage that they will be charged, but until they reach a certain amount of impervious surface, we don't charge that.
Okay,
So if they're in the process of constructing, doing grading, that sort of thing, they're not paying that yet.
thank you.
Good question. Moving on to the annual report. I think most of you have seen the annual report before. It's provided, the template is provided by TDEC. And of course, it ran from July 1st of 2018 through June 30th of this year. You can see on the first page, we used the most recent census, which is 2016. At 47,521, I guarantee you we're far beyond that. I wouldn't doubt we're beyond 50,000, but I don't know that. But as you go further down the page, we are required to list the streams that are listed on TDEC's 303D list. This is a list required by the federal law. And you'll see that Stewart Creek is on there for the different reasons you see there. You move over to the top of the next page, you see that Harts Branch is also on there. Rock Springs Branch is on there, Olive Branch. Of course, those three are tributaries to Stewart Creek. But you also notice that the very last one that's listed on this has the terms that it's been delisted. I wanted to make certain everybody understood that it's been taken off the 303, even though I printed it off here. It's been taken off by the 303D list by TDEC. That's the stream that flows under Morton Lane. It flows right along the perimeter of Stewart Creek Elementary and Middle School. So we're proud of that happening. And as you see from your pamphlet there, your packet, we do hand these out to new participants. And it's got about 23 or 24 pretty educational documents in there. We're pretty proud of that. In fact, we hand those out to people that have not received them before. And then we get a lot of folks that participate in these cleanups that have already done it in the past, so we don't give them another packet. We had 4 fall and spring Stewart Creek stream cleanups, 77 total volunteers, cleaned up 11 sites and removed 101 bags of litter, and plus a plethora of other objects. And we also had 4 Adopt-A-Stream. This is the schools, the elementary, middle, and high schools. And they had 83 total volunteers, cleaned up 3 stream sites, 46 bags of litter, and a wide array of other debris. Thus far, since we started this in 2005, fall of 2005, we've had 1,485 stream cleanup volunteers. In the 13 and a half years, we removed 1,938 bags of litter, and we've had 60 public events. Since the 12th annual Boat Day, like I said earlier, it had 321 citizens attend. We had 24 staff members helping out, doing a great job. And we also had a little sports store on Sam Ridley by the name of Academy. The 6th year in a row they've stepped up and they provided 2 kayaks and 1 really neat cooler on wheels. And we gave those out based on the Hold Harmless forums. I was not here at the time, but Dwayne competently took the control and came up with the 3 participants, the winners, and we've already given those out. Did all that by the close of last week. So far, we've had 2,872 Boat Day participants in 12 consecutive years. Moving on, Catherine can relate to this. We're in the 9th consecutive year of Project WET. That's the teacher, our contact, Bonnie Irvin, meeting with teachers and principals and students in all of our public schools. And just Smyrna alone, she had 735 contact hours and distributed 1,526 pieces of educational material. Of course, we reward our participants, and this past year, the mayor signs every one of these. It's not electronic. 191 certificates of appreciation. And we're proud to give those out, and you of course, you receive yours as well as being SWAC members. And I think I've already touched base on the Valio and the town of Smyrna. Moving on, we talk about the participants in the SWAC, and you know who you are. Construction from 90 to 100 construction projects that Dwayne's been overseeing. And you'll move on to illicit discharge elimination. We've already talked about how many illicit discharges we had, 4, but we're also required to go to look at outlets where the water drains into our streams, and we are due for a new program, so we'll be updating, and I've just started updating the list of our sites. And if it ever should stop raining, and I think it's supposed to stop raining in August and September and October, hopefully, we'll get some dry weather so we can go out and look at these discharge pipes to see if there's any fluid in there that shouldn't be. Obviously, you don't want it to rain for quite a while to make sure if there's any fluid in there, it's not due to any storm events. Moving on to the next page. Going down to 9B. 9B goes over how much review Tom and I do of the plans. So it's quite thorough, and we get plans in practically every day. And continue to move on to the page 6. We're almost done. Enforcement. Notice of violations. 6 of those were issued by Dwayne for construction sites, and 2 for illicit discharges. We actually had to do a stop work order. We don't like doing those, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, so we did. And down at the bottom, it goes into how much money comes in, how much we spent for the program, about $1.3 million. What our proposal projection is for next year, about the same amount. And how much down in D, it lists how much the stormwater utility, how much revenue that creates. And as you move further down, page 7, you'll see that we've actually annexed about 222 acres. We're required to add that to the annual report. Last page, of course, is for signing by the mayor. Once you review it and hopefully approve the annual report, then it goes on to the council, and they'll approve it, and the very next day I mail it in to TDEC. We have a deadline, I think it's October 1st. We always make that deadline. I just assume get it out of the way so we can move on to other important matters. Do you have any questions about the annual report? No questions?
I don't have a question. I got a question, but it's not about the annual report. If we're through with the annual report.
Yeah, we're done.
We need to approve the annual report before we get off of it.
Okay, we will ask for approval on the annual report.
I'll make the motion to approve this year's annual report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Annual report is approved as presented. I just have a question. Over next to Lee Victory Park, they're doing a lot of clearing back in there and doing some work in there. Does that have anything to do with stormwater? Or is stormwater going to be an issue there?
That's a part of the Nolan Drive extension. That's a locally funded project. We hired Jones Brothers Construction to do that project, but basically what it is a kind of a realignment of Nolan Drive, and it's for setting up for a future expansion of Lee Victory Park. But as a part of that project, because the land is technically owned by, most of the land is technically owned by the Airport Authority, they required us to remove some additional trees from that area to get approval from them for that project. But basically it's a roadway project. They do have silt fence out there. I know Greg goes out there and inspects the silt fence and just to make sure there's no illicit discharges or any issues out there.
I believe there was a video that was posted on y'all's Facebook page about us. I'll watch that as well.
Yeah.
Give a good illustration of what's being
Right.
done out there.
Yes, yeah, Mike Moss put together a couple of videos on that. But that's a great question. It kind of leads me to a segue on what you're talking about there. I wanted to mention some of the roadway projects we have going on. Nolan Drive's one we just discussed. Potomac Place Extension, north side of Sam Ridley between Sam Ridley and Cheney Boulevard is currently under construction. Enid Springs West Extension, if you on Enid Springs going toward Old Nashville Highway, and you see a big pile of dirt, debris, and rock in front of you, that's eventually going to continue straight across and then tie into currently Rocky Fork Road. Add some. It's going to be one lane in each direction with the center turn lane. It's going to be wider lanes than what we have now, so it's going to provide a lot of safety, especially to the schools that have opened up and are about to open up out on Rocky Fork. Also, we have Weekly Lane, Swan Drive is under construction. They've got a lot of the rock graded out, and I believe they put binder down already, getting ready to mill, in preparation to mill and resurface that intersection. Going to be adding turn lanes to each leg of that intersection. Currently, if you're on Weekly going north toward Swan Drive, it necks down from 3 lanes to 2. But in the future, when the road gets finished up, it's going to continue to be 3-lane all the way up to Swan Drive, and then it's going to have turn lanes on Swan Drive, left turn lanes on each leg of Swan Drive, and a left turn lane on the southbound approach on Weekly Lane. A little bit of good news. We also, as far as road projects, and this one has a lot of a big stormwater component to it as well. The Sam Ridley widening project, we did recently receive notice to proceed to construction phase on that project. We're going to be taking Sam Ridley, widening it to 3 lanes in each direction with turn lanes through the median cuts. Like I said, we just got notice to proceed to construction on that, so we're going to be going out to bid next week on it. So still a couple of months away from securing a contractor, getting them approved by TDOT, and shortly after that, getting started on that road widening project. But like I mentioned, that does have a large stormwater component to it because we are taking the ditch system out there. We're going to be putting a stormwater piping system in place. We're also going to have a curb and gutter out there as well. But that project should be, construction-wise, kicking off here in a few months. It's going to take a good bit of work to start, so you won't see 3 lanes immediately, so don't expect it, but because there's a lot of utilities that have to be moved, a lot of stormwater pipe that has to be placed before we can add those other lanes. So we're still a long way before getting those outside lanes. Any questions on, so as you drive around, you see a lot of construction projects going on, roadway projects. Also see a lot of private projects going on construction-wise, residential homes. If you see anything out of the ordinary, vehicles driving around in stream beds or crossings in creeks, anything like that, if you notice any fuel spills or leaks from these construction areas or silt fence has been knocked down, please contact us. If you see them using hay bales, please contact us because they're not allowed to use hay bales either for stormwater protection. So if you see anything that you think might be out of the ordinary, please contact either myself, Greg Upham, or Dwayne Lawson, and we'll take a look into it. But if there's nothing else, if anybody has any other comments on current roadway projects, if not, have a little presentation on the downtown Rotary Soccer Park project.
Got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the Enid Springs project, extension project, is any thought being given to extending that road all the way to the interstate and putting an interchange? That was mentioned once upon a time,
Yeah.
a long time ago.
It's still a thought, and that's still the eventuality we want to get to is having an interchange out there. So what we're doing partly with Enid Springs West Extension is we are providing that kind of gateway into Smyrna from I-24 east coming in. So we're kind of doing our part on that side as far as the future in preparation for the future interchange. Some of the things that do have to happen before we can get an interchange is we have to evaluate and correct the issues at Sam Ridley Interchange and Amaville Road. Sam Ridley is a very minor things that need to be updated on that, and that's a TDOT funded project. Also, the Amville Road interchange, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done to fix that intersection. Right now, it's at a failing condition in the AM and PM peak, when you get most of the traffic there. If anybody travels that in the morning or the afternoon, you'll see it every day. Sometimes it even backs up onto the interstate. And when it does that, that's a major problem for FHWA, and they take it very seriously. So they are looking at a multi-million-dollar upgrade to that interchange. Now, what they've been telling me over and over again, because I keep coming up with these brilliant ideas on why we should have an interchange, but they keep saying, well, we still have to fix these interchanges first before we even consider putting one at Rocky Fork. So we're still a ways away on that.
But those interchange corrections are via the DOT, not the city of Smyrna, town of
Right.
Smyrna.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Their DOT work that's totally led by them. They're doing the investigation, they're doing the design the traffic study, see what they should do, and projecting it out. What they do, as you know, they project out 20 years into the future based on current growth rate. In 20 years, is this fix that we do today, what effect does that have? And they want to make sure that it's a good fit, so that that the work they do today will still fix the issue 20 years out. All right, any other questions about road projects or stormwater related to it?
I got one on that Almaville thing. Is stormwater going to be involved in the Almaville upgrade at all when that does happen? Or is that out of our jurisdiction?
Well, as far as there is a stream nearby at that interchange, and I think one of the options they're looking at, they're not going to be able to widen the Amville section because of the stream coming through there. So they're looking at, I know they proposed additional ramp lanes, and then they also proposed what's called a diverging diamond interchange there. And for those options to kind of fix that intersection, but stay out of the creek and not get into that and impact it. If no other questions, if you want to check out the screen overhead, a little bit about the downtown Rotary Soccer Park project. Here's some pictures from previous floodings that we've had, and just kind of triggered this project to begin. We started on it a few years ago as far as getting consultants online and doing a flood study, hydrology study to see what the problem is. We can kind of calculate and do a hydraulic model that represents what actually happens in these two areas, and then come up with some corrections and see what we can do to fix the problem in these areas and not cause any flooding issues downstream. This is a graphic of the overall project. As you can see, I got, if you can follow the cursor a little bit, up here is Rotary Soccer Park. Now, when I say that there's flooding in Rotary Soccer Park, it's not just the park that we're concerned about flooding. In fact, we're not really concerned about the park flooding. What we're concerned about is the residential areas nearby. Here we have Maple Manor, and then what's off the screen that you can't see up in here is Maple Street. We had several homes flood previously. And then on the other side of Highway 41, this is Highway 41, kind of coming up through the middle of it. You got the downtown area right here. And we have quite a bit of flooding in this little neighborhood, College Street, as well as there's a floodplain back in this area near Hazelwood. So we've identified those locations where we do have flooding problems and partnered with Gresham Smith to try and figure out what are the solutions to it. A little bit of the overall project. Now, this might get a little bit difficult to see. Let me back up one here. This is broke this down into two phases. You'll see this phase line here, phase 1 and 2. Phase 1 is Rotary Soccer Park, kind of getting the water that flows to the park. The park is basically in a bowl. And the same thing on the other side, on the opposite side of Highway 41. It's basically a bowl too. So the only way to drain these bowls, get water out, is to drain these bowls. Well, if you drain, first thing we have to do is drain the phase 1 side out to Stewart Creek, And then we can connect the phase 2 side over to the phase 1 side. You can't do phase 2 first, because then it just sends more water to the other side and causes more flooding problems there. So we have to kind of get that water out first before we do the phase 2 part. So here you'll see a similar type. This is basically some of the right-of-way plans. We call them right-of-way plans. There's no right-of-way to acquire with these plans. We're really going to be acquiring drainage easements on about 14 different tracks to be able to lay some storm pipe and build some stormwater detention ponds to kind of hold back that big first flush of water and slowly let it go out through these larger pipes. You've got Rotary Soccer Park here, and then you've got Soccer Way. If you follow the little cursor, it goes down to Mayfield Drive and then comes near the intersection of Enid Springs and Mayfield to discharge to Stewart Creek. That's the phase 1 area. And then the other side, I'll get into these next little detail plans a little bit more here in a minute. You've got College Street. We're going to be, there's a bowl area there, and discharging it down behind the Auto Masters area and interconnecting with a pond on the other side, discharging underneath the railroad tracks through what's formerly known as the Lane property, and then getting it back to the Rotary Soccer Park to be able to drain out to Stewart Creek after that. It's like I mentioned, this is the phase 1, kind of a zoom in of the phase 1. You see this is Maple Manor here. This is the soccer park. We're going to be expanding the stormwater pond in it, making it several feet deeper, increasing the surface area on it as well. Putting in, I think it's a 42-inch pipe to go down out of the soccer park. Then this is Soccer Way on the right-hand side of your screen. Coming down, like I mentioned before, coming down Soccer Way, hanging to the left, going down Mayfield Drive. Staying on Mayfield Drive through here. So we tried to stay within Mayfield Drive to and Soccer Way so we can limit the amount of right-of-way easements we have to acquire. And eventually, okay, now the plan's kind of turned. We're coming down this way, making that kind of sharp curve on Mayfield Drive down to Enid Springs. This is the intersection of Enid Springs and Mayfield Drive, and discharging that stormwater into Stewart Creek. It's really key. This component is really key because you've got a peak in Stewart Creek that occurs at a certain time. So when you have a storm event that occurs, you have a downpour of water, and then eventually as it makes it down to the creek, you have this 100-year flood that occurs in the creek where the water level rises up. What we're trying to do with this, what we're going to do with this project, and what we're designing it to do, is to get the water out of Rotary Soccer Park to Stewart Creek. It leaves before this big rush of water comes in and raises the 100-year floodplain. What our goal is, and what I tasked the consultant on this, is that we are not going to increase the floodplain of Stewart Creek. So we're going to get our water out before that next big gush of water comes down, so we don't increase it. That's good for people in Brookhaven. Phase 2 area. Let's see, we got Hazelwood Drive. You got, okay, this is, let me see, there's College Street up here. I see, there it is. College Street on the right-hand side going north-south, up and down on the page. And then you got Hazelwood Drive coming down. You've got the Auto Masters back in this area. This is the storm pond behind the Auto Masters. Also, we're going to be, there's a ball field back here. We're going to be excavating it out a good bit. Oops. And we're going to tier it so that people will still be able to use it as the fields. It's just that when we have this major flood event, it's going to flood this area, and within 24, 36 hours, that water is going to be gone. So the ball field will be usable. It's not where it's going to be sitting there flooded with water all the time. I know you probably, if you've been by the Auto Masters on Hazelwood, you see there's water back in the retention pond most of the time. When we open this up, then that's going to let that water slowly trickle out from behind Auto Masters and behind this area, underneath the railroad tracks to Rotary Soccer Park and out to Stewart Creek. So, you know, the design, the model shows that during a 100-year storm event, this will basically drain out within 24 to 36 hours. All right, and then here we have it, let's see, yeah. Here we have it going under Lowry Street. You can see it coming back this direction through Lane property and eventually getting to the Rotary Soccer Park after that. That's basically the construction plans that we have to date. The more right-of-way plans at this point. Once we do have an appraiser hired, we're going to be, this person's going to be meeting with the different homeowners, landowners, and to appraise the property, see what the value is in it. We will be working with a negotiator to meet with these landowners to offer them a fair deal and trying to get a contract with them. Once we get everything under contract and we've acquired all the easements, then we'll be able to go to construction phase on that. There's one tract on the phase 1 section, and the remaining 13 tracts are on the phase 2 section. So we're going to be focusing on phase 1 first, acquire that, start construction on it, and then we're going to start construction on the phase 2 part after that. So kind of depending on how quickly easements can be acquired, we may bid both phase 1 and 2 out at the same time. We may just bid out phase 1, then bid phase 2 later.
Did I understand you right when you said this would only be easement acquirements? There will not be any right-of-way?
Correct, yes. That's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have any questions on, this is probably the largest stormwater project I'm aware of that the town has done. And we are working with FEMA to try and get some grant money from them as far as being able to split the cost on it.
Any questions, comments?
Right.
Any other, okay.
Dwayne gave me the list of the recipients of the Academy Awards. He'd like me to read them to you. Larry Montgomery won a kayak. McKenna Weaver, 11-year-old, she won a kayak. And Chelsea Kelch won a cooler. Two of the 3 folks are from Smyrna.
Well, good. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Any other comments, questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, sir.